Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eternal Spring. I'm Paul Thrott, and I am here again with my wife, Stephanie. Hello.
Hello.
And we are here today. We've been gone for a while. Sorry about that, but there's a lot going on. A lot of financial stuff we'll have to get through at some point. But for now, what we'd like to focus on is a big milestone this month, which is we're applying for temporary residency in Mexico. So what we'd like to talk about today is why we're doing this and then how we're doing this, right? Because there are different ways to do it. So maybe we could start with, well, I guess a little bit of background. Like, what's the story with residency in Mexico?
Yeah, so most of the time when you just go to Mexico, you just get, a tourist, what we call a tourist visa stamp.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to spend extended periods of time in Mexico and get some benefits from living in Mexico, you can either get temporary or permanent residency in Mexico. Temporary, which is what we are applying for, is good for 1 year when you initially apply for it, and then you can renew it after that for up to 4 years total.
Mm-hmm.
After 4 years, you can transition that over to permanent residency. Both types of residency have financial requirements, and the requirements for permanent residency are higher. So you have to prove, a higher income or savings level to get permanent residency. So temporary, I think temporary is where most people start.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we don't know where life's going to take us exactly, but so you renew it every year, or I guess you could renew it for 1 to 3 years, depending on how that goes. But I assume we do that in Mexico. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then permanent residency never expires, right? So once you get that, you're kind of in.
You're good to go. Yep.
Yeah. So all right. So why would one do this? What's the point of this?
I think the main point is that you can stay in Mexico for that whole year that you have your temporary residency for, and then you can renew it and stay for 3 more years. Your tourist visa is good for 180 days typically, but sometimes it's less than that. So I think just having the residency, the top benefit is gives you the flexibility to come and go to Mexico and spend as much time as you're permitted, not have to worry about running out of time or overstaying your visa.
That's a big deal for you and I, because we've always sort of envisioned the future where we split time between some country in the United States, and obviously that country is Mexico. So we've never been there for more than 3 weeks at a time,
3 weeks, maybe
2 weeks, whatever it is.
But we can dream.
So this year, one of our goals is to travel to and from Mexico less frequently, but to spend more time there on each trip, right? And then maybe over time, split our time a little differently. Maybe I'm not saying 50-50 exactly, but, split our time in some way.
Yep.
So there's that. And we should probably do a video on this, but there's been some drama over the past year with these so-called tourist visas, which are really, you don't really get a tourist visa. You just, as a passport holder from another country, you can spend up to 180 days. Although I guess last year, a lot of people were complaining. They wanted to come in, digital nomads or whatever, wanted to come in and spend more time, and they were only getting a couple of weeks or a month or something for some reason. It seems like that's eased up. And they've also switched the way that they document this. They used to have paper-based forms, which is like an FMM. I'm going to try this one, a Forma Migratoria Multiple, this immigration form, basically. And you actually had to hold on to this piece of paper. And if you lost it when you left the country, you had to pay a fine. Like you had to hold on to it.
Yep.
So the last time we went to Mexico, which was back in October, they had done away with that on our flight. So at that time, there were still some people using the old form, some people using the new way. But by now, I think it's all this new form. And it's basically just like traveling to any other country. You get a stamp in your passport, which they always did. But now they write on the stamp the amount of time that you have, or the end date of your stay.
Right.
So we got 6 months on that trip. Interesting.
Right.
So, okay. But there are other benefits, right? And
there's some other benefits.
And some of them benefit us specifically, and some of them don't. So what's the stuff that's important to us specifically?
I'll try my Spanish on this one. What we call a CURP in English is an acronym for this. It's a Clave Única de Registro de Población.
There you go.
It's basically what we would consider in the U.S. a social security number. So
like a tax ID almost, right?
Yeah.
Like
So with this number, you can open a bank account at any bank in Mexico. You can join the public or private healthcare programs that they have in Mexico. If you are selling property, which we're not planning to do anytime soon, but probably will happen at some point eventually, you get an exemption for your homeowner's capital gains tax.
Right. Actually, we didn't talk about this before, but we can't sell our place until we get this. It's kind of an interesting thing. They allow us to buy the property, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, but if we want to sell this now, we can't. We have to have this CURP first.
Right.
So I mean, that alone is the reason. It's not actually why we're doing it, but that's I mean, it is a reason, but it is a reason to do it for sure.
Yep.
And then there are other reasons, right? I mean, and these don't necessarily apply to us, but there are other reasons why you might want to get temporary or permanent residency in Mexico.
Yeah, you can get a driver's license. You can buy a car and register a car in the country. I believe you can get a job. So that it gives you a lot of the rights that a Mexican citizen would have in that country. And the ability to do things that you need to do to just live your life. You want to have a bank account. You want to have healthcare.
This comes up a lot. We wanted to start a mobile account at AT&T, and they wanted our tax ID, I guess the CURP or whatever, and we don't have that, right? Because we're U.S. citizens, or we don't have a residency. This is not citizenship, to be clear. We're not becoming Mexican citizens. There's a whole other process for that. I'm not sure that I ever foresee that day, but that's how you would get a passport, right, and be able to vote and be a full citizen. But that's another another discussion. Yeah. All right, so it's Mexico, so not surprisingly, this is a little complex. So, how does one go about applying for residency, whichever kind?
So, step one is to schedule an appointment at a consulate in your home country, which is the U.S. for us. There, you can, depending on your consulate, you can either go on the web and fill out a form or book an appointment online, or you can email or you can call. Ours was a little weird. We went online and there were no appointments available. Right. So I emailed and the person sent me a link and said, book your appointment through this link, which was the same place I had already been. And I went back to that link and there were appointments. So,
yep. We should also mention here, there's a whole kind of a world of this information, right? There are people who give advice about getting residency and, doing things. And a lot of people want to come to Mexico because they can't afford to live in the United States, frankly, right? They're on Social Security. They just don't have a lot of money. And one of the things that comes up is that these consulates all have different income and or investment requirements. That's the thing, that's the requirement. So depending on where you go, the amount they'll cite you will be different in each place. And so one of the strategies for people who are kind of on the edge of meeting the requirements is they can go to a consulate where the requirements are lower. We didn't really have to look into that. It's not that we make a lot of money or anything, but we'll talk about those requirements and we do meet them in both categories, I guess. So, we'll get to that, but we basically just looked at this and said, well, obviously we're going to go to the closest one, which is for us is Philadelphia.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense for most people. If you meet the requirements, it's just more convenient to go to a consulate that's close to where you live. I mean, we're still going to Philadelphia. It's over, a solid hour away. So it's not like it's next door.
It's going to be 90 minutes, I'm sure, or more door to door. Yeah, but yes. So there's that. And when our appointment is in about 10 days. So it's on the 19th of January, which is Thursday. So that's going to be a big day for us.
Sure is.
But so that's the first. We apply at the consulate, and then that's the first half. We'll talk about what we need. We have to bring all kinds of stuff for that. But then the second half is you finalize it in Mexico. So in our case, we're going to go to an immigration office in Mexico City.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll get to that in a bit too. But with regards to this first half of the process, which is the application in person, I don't think we've printed it out yet, but I assume this is going to be about an inch thick of paperwork by the time we're done. So what are we doing here? What's the story?
So I will preface this just by saying that every consulate's different and we haven't had the appointment yet, but I've emailed and called our consulate and I've had my emails and my phone calls returned within a day with clear answers to the questions I've asked. So far I've been very happy with the service.
Also in English, right? Which I think is an important part of this. So the first half of this process, the part you do at the consulate, will occur in English, which is great because we speak English.
Right.
The second half, we'll see, right? I mean, and we'll get to that, but the first half will be in English. So that's, if you're worried about that part of it, you should have no problem with the first half at least.
Right. Yeah. So they send you an email after you book your appointment. They send you an email and say, this is what you need to bring for your documentation. A big part of your documentation is making sure you meet the financial requirements. So in Philadelphia right now at that consulate, you need to prove that you make at least $2,550 a month after taxes per person, and you need to document that for 6 months. So you need 6 months worth of pay stubs that show you, that your net income is above that amount per month.
So that works out. What's that about? I'm going to do math live like an idiot, but that's about what, 30,000 a year, a little bit more, 32, somewhere in there. Something like that.
Probably
5 times 6. It's about that. So it's about 30. Yeah, it's a little over 30,000. So that's income requirement. That's one of two ways, right? Because that's not, if you're retired, for example, you might not have an income per se, although I guess Social Security might apply. So what's the second way you might?
The second way is investments. So right now the requirement in Philly is you need to have $42,100 in investment or savings accounts, whatever types of accounts that you hold your money in, for at least 12 months. So your balance can't, my understanding is that your balance can't dip below that $42,100 threshold for the 12 months. So you need to bring in your statements, whether that's, your bank, your investment accounts, whatever. You just bring in all your statements. I raised the question because, like many of us, we don't actually have like paper physical statements anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So I emailed the consulate and said, because the email says to bring the originals and copies, but the originals don't really exist. So they said that you can send in PDFs.
Screenshots or whatever.
So I've sent in PDFs, and
so we should make sure we have two just in case.
Just
to be clear, $42,100 sounds like a lot of money. It's a lot of money to have in a savings account, but we're in our actually we're sliding into our late 50s all of a sudden, but we'll call it mid 50s.
I'm solidly mid 50s.
Solidly mid 50s. Yeah. So I mean, having $42,000 in a retirement account is not unreasonable. I mean, that's not. Hopefully, at this age, you have a lot more than that. So even with the economy, so whatever, 401k, SEP, IRA, personal savings.
I would think a lot of people that are our age, if you've owned a house for any time, you could, pull $43,000 out of your equity line and put that in a savings account, and then let that sit there for 12 months, and that would meet the requirements.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so and we're going to come with both. I guess we're going to have documentation for both income and for savings. Right. And then what else do we need to bring to this appointment? I assume it's not like applying for a.
Right. So it's a, there's an application, there's a visa application that you have to fill out that they've emailed to us. So we'll fill that one out. You need to bring your passport, and you also need to bring a copy of the main passport page. Honestly, the passport was what delayed us a little bit in getting this process started, because I had to renew my passport, and because you get a new passport number in the US when you renew, I wanted to get that finished before we started.
To do this, right? So the last few months have been kind of weird with that. Before our October trip, I had to renew my own passport, which was going to expire in November, and then you just did I think you did a normal renewal.
I did mine expedited, but
you did, okay, and it was early too, because
expedited.
You didn't have to do this until the spring or something, right? Did you do a little early?
Yeah, I did a little early. Yeah.
But the idea was, before we go back to Mexico again, we're going to get this done, get this thing in, and we will, show up the next time we go to Mexico. We're going to hopefully we get approved, and then we can, do the second half. But I'm sorry. Anyway, so visa application, passport with a copy of the main passport page. What else do we need?
Passport photo, like you would get for your normal passport, go to a place. And then the application fee is $48.
Okay. Now, the second half of this, the part that we do in Mexico is potentially the daunting bit, right? Because of language mostly, but also just the curious form of bureaucracy that occurs in Mexico. different things that happen in different offices, and the things change all the time. It's one of those things. I've spent a lot of time researching this online, and one of the things you hear all the time is you never know what to expect, at this type of thing. So what we decided to do was engage the help of a relocation expert who's based in Mexico that can help us with this process, right? And there were a couple of things we were considering. I found out about a woman named Yvonne Pavan, who is part of a company called Host Relocation, which is based in, I think, in Querétaro, but they have coverage in various parts of Mexico, and they can help you with different services in different places. We found out about her on Qroo Paul's YouTube channel. He did a short interview with her, which I will link to. So we reached out to her, and we had a meeting on Zoom, and she provided us with a lot of information, had kind of a nice follow-up email, explained what we basically just explained to you, what we have to do, both in the US and in Mexico. But the reason we're engaging her or that company for this is that second half, right? So when we go to Mexico City, hopefully, if everything goes great, she has a representative there who's going to help us in person. So we're going to meet with this person. He'll set up the appointment for us, accompany us to the appointment as much as he can. And then he's going to help with some of the follow-up stuff because, like you said, we have to get a CURP. We're going to get a CURP. We need to get a bank account. There might be other things. And so he's going to help with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So what does that look like?
So financially, what does that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what's the,
Yeah, that costs, I think it's $450 per person for their support on this, on the Mexico side.
Yeah, and cash. So, and it was interesting because we talked to her for, probably close to an hour. And I finally said, hey, how do we pay you? What do we, that never came up. So it was interesting. She seemed really nice. We'll obviously provide an update once we get in and make our way through this process. But you could also consider the Mexico Relocation Guide, which I linked to on our YouTube channel. Mariana has a great kind of service going there as well. She offers a guide to relocating to Mexico, which is normally $495. And she has recommended contacts in Mexico, including people in Mexico City. So that was another route we might have gone. But we, in talking to this person and watching the interview and looking at their stuff online, we felt comfortable with the company we went with. So we'll let you know how that goes, but we have a pretty good feeling about it, I would say. Yeah,
I think if our Spanish was stronger, I would consider at least trying to do this appointment on our own. But I feel like, the way our language skills are at this point in time,
we're not quite there.
It's worth investing in somebody who is familiar with the process and speaks the language to help us get through it.
Yeah. And I think the real way we're going to expand our Spanish is by being there and being immersed in it and being forced to speak it. And, it's a chicken egg thing. So we got to be able to do that. So
right. Exactly.
Get this out of the way. All right. So that's what we're doing. It's how we're doing it. So we might make another video before any of this happens, but at the very least, you can be sure we'll provide another video when we do go through the application process. And then assuming that goes well, when we go back to Mexico and go to the immigration office in Mexico City.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.